Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Nathan over at Body Balance Physical Therapy. We're going to shoot this video now to kind of go over some of the things that we talked about from our workshop on Monday, which was talking more about shoulder pain, why we get it, and what kind of certain things that we do here at Physical Therapy, but also things that you can do on your own at home to help feel better. And so one of the first things that we talked about being able to either maintain and not have any shoulder pain, or one of the first things that we do when we get here is to figure out how can we maintain your range of motion or get your arm moving in ways that are pain-free. So a lot of times what happens is if we're lifting our arm, we're like, ow, like anytime I lift my arm up over my head to right here, it hurts. There's a couple things it can be. It can be either nerve problems, it can be muscle problems, it can be joint problems. I mean, there's a lot of different things that it can be. So as we're doing our evaluation, that's what we're constantly looking for, is to see, is it nerve, is it bone, is it muscle related, is it ligament related? And so one thing that we like to do here, and I like to do it for an exercise as well, is first to just try to go up to a corner, any sort of like doorway or a corner on your wall at your home, and just go ahead and try to walk your fingers all the way up the wall and see if that hurts. If you can kind of get some help as we walk that finger all the way, or that hand all the way up the wall, if we're able to get there and like, wow, that doesn't hurt, then more than likely we've got a muscle problem. And there's been problems with our, those muscles having to pull up the weight of your arm. We really don't think about our arm weighing anything, weighing anything, because we just lift it, especially our other side. We're like, oh, that's not heavy. And so, but our arm usually weighs somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10 to 15 pounds, depending on the person. And so sometimes that can be too much, and when we're lifting it up, and it's hurting, that's basically our body telling us that is too much weight. And so when we can do it like this, we don't have any pain, that means that we're giving the wall the ability to help us and actually reduce the weight of our arm. And so if it's not hurting, then that means that, hey, maybe we should look a little bit more at the muscle. So what I like to do, especially for an exercise, after we figure out maybe it is muscle, then we're going to reach our arm up over our head on that corner, and we're just going to stand there. And our goal is, one of the second things that we talked about is being able to create some stability with our shoulder blade to help with this movement. So what I like to have people do is, as they're standing at the corner of the shoulder, I like to have them take this opposite hand and stick it kind of right down here on your armpit, underneath your armpit just a little bit. And what our goal is going to be is to try to, as our arm is up over our head, we're going to try to pull our shoulder blade down. We're thinking about taking your armpit and pull it all the way down to your hip. So as we do that, we're going to be able to feel with these fingers that there is some muscle contraction going on, and that's ultimately what we want. And so what we're able to do is accomplish two things with that motion. As we're able to get that range of motion, get that arm up overhead, and teach our body that that's an okay position for us to be in, but also start to get our shoulder blade to activate a little bit more and to create some stability, so this whole joint right here, that rotator cuff and everything else, doesn't have to do as much work. So that's one of the very first things that I like to start to work on with some of my patients. And again, with any of these exercises, this is just kind of a generalized thing. So we need to go through our full evaluation before we really figure out what's going on. But these are some things that you can try. They're going to be safe, and if they hurt, don't do them. We need to figure out what we can do to help you get to these movements pain-free. And so there are abilities to regress this exercise, but also make it harder just depending on where you're at with your ability level at that time. And so that's going to be the first one. I call that, I've got some weird names for it. Just going up, so it's just your arm overhead, serratus activation, and that's one of the muscles that we're trying to work on. I've got a couple of videos on our YouTube page that you can go and look at that I actually have my arm in a band. So if that seems to work out better for you for that, you can go ahead and look at that video. But usually just getting that band, your arm in that band to hold you up overhead. And again, we work on pulling that shoulder blade down. So I don't get any movement here. It's all shoulder blade down and back up, shoulder blade down, and then back up. So if you have questions, you can always call. You can comment on this video, and I'll shoot you a message back, and we can try to get you through these exercises. So the second one that we're going to work on with one of our concepts that we've worked on or talked about on Monday was being able to stabilize that shoulder blade and only move that humerus, which is this big arm bone. And so we call that dissociation, being able to move one and not move the other. So I just got a big long dowel rod right here. This comes out of your closet. You can also grab a golf club, broomstick, anything that's long and straight, not going to bend. So what we're going to work on doing is bending forward just a little bit. So that way we can really focus on being able to pull those shoulder blades back instead of wanting to pull them up. So we're going to bend forward and we're going to let our arms hang straight down in this dependent position. Our goal is going to be pull those shoulder blades down and back. We're going to keep them in that position, and we're going to bring this bar up towards our chest and then back down. So if you can see while I'm doing this, I'm not going to let my shoulders roll forward and roll back. Forward, you can kind of see how as I do that, that's rolling forward and back. That's not what we want. We want to try to keep those shoulder blades back and move them here. So now you're seeing that it's staying right here instead of coming down and back. So that's trying to work on some of that stability or periscapular, meaning around the shoulder blade strength as we're trying to move our arm. Because think about it, throughout the course of the day, we move our arm in all these different positions, whether we're reaching out to grab somebody and giving somebody a hug, being able to reach out and pull something, our drawers or something like that. We need to be able to move our arms in different positions in order to create that stability through our shoulder blade to help just better mechanics at the shoulder. So again, our main focus is right here. So as we're grabbing onto this and rolling up, this is staying in one spot instead of down and up, down and up. And again, the whole goal is working on stabilizing that shoulder blade. So that's another good exercise that I like to give my patients on the first couple of times that they come into, if that's their issue as far as creating stability. Majority of people have problems creating stability, especially because we're sitting and our shoulders are rounding a little bit much. And that's just a comfortable position. We want to roll forward. We want to say we want to keep a big chest and a proud chest, but we just want to put those shoulder blades right in the position that they want to be in. The last one, this is one of my favorite ones. I'm going to show it to you while I'm standing up. I think this is probably better for people to start while they're laying down. And this is just called the Serratus flexion exercise. Again, the serratus is a muscle that comes on your rib cage and it wraps along your rib cage and attaches onto your shoulder blade. And its goal is to help pull it forward. So what we do is we kind of wrap this around, and on the placement of your back, it's going to go about the mid-back, almost right to the bottom of where your last rib is, okay? Then we're going to wrap this around, and we need to cross these up in front of ourselves. So when I'm going to bring this over, I'm actually going to hook this onto my right thumb. This one that comes across is going to come over to my left thumb, and it's going to make a big X here, okay? So what our goal is to be able to lift our arms up in the air without letting this roll up. So you can kind of see what I have to do is keep my shoulders down. And that's a really weird concept the first time when you're coming in, is how do I lift my arm up and pull my shoulder blade down? And that's just some of that coordination. We talked about being able to coordinate some of these movements to make ourselves be able to be more efficient with this. That's just one of those movements that it's all about coordination. So as we get it, you're like, oh yeah, I can. If you watch me right now, I lift my arm up, my shoulder doesn't come up here. It stays down the whole time. So with this, again, we're wrapping it around kind of the bottom of our rib cage, crossing it up, getting it on those opposite thumbs, keeping our elbows straight, and we almost want to think about pointing our elbows behind us. So these little bones right back here, we want to point behind us as we lift up overhead and trying to pull those down. If I let these come up, sometimes it wants to roll up, so that's usually a pretty good indicator that we're not creating good enough stability. So as we raise up, I like to think about trying to keep this cross below my chin, and I do that by pulling my shoulder blades down. And as I'm doing this, I'm actually feeling those serratus muscles fire. You're going to feel some burning and some contraction back down into those muscles. That's exactly what we want. So as we're lifting up overhead and coming back down, that's what we want to see. So again, if these are painful, that's not the right exercise for you at that time. This isn't a bad exercise that even if you don't have any pain to start to do, you can never be too strong. So if we keep working on these and getting stronger, there's no problem with that. We're not just going to go and break everything that we touch just because we're able to contract these muscles the way that we want. But you can always not be strong enough. And I'd much rather myself personally be in that ability that I'm strong enough to do this instead of looking at something and saying I'm not strong enough to do that. And oddly enough, sometimes that is, I'm not strong enough to lift my arm up over my head, either safely but without pain, because that arm is too heavy. So those are 3 great exercises that I give almost every single one of my shoulder patients, as long as it is, appropriate for them to do. And that's why it's so important that you come in and get an evaluation. Get an evaluation from us, and so we can figure that out, because I don't want to give you this exercise and it set you back, and now we've pushed ourselves back a couple of days or a couple of sessions when we could have tried to figure that out the very first time and said, nope, this is exactly where you need to be, and let's build off of that. So we're here to help you. We want you to come to see us to help you get rid of your pains and to be able to get back, do the things that you love to do, whether it be going out and playing golf, whether it be going downtown and doing things on Town Lake, or just spending time with your family, lifting your grandkids, or throwing your kids up in the air and catching them. I don't want you to be limited to that because of your shoulder pain. So if you're having any of those issues, you can start with these exercises if you're feeling like either A, they're helping and you want more, come on in, or B, they're hurting and you want to figure out what you can do, come on in and see us. We'll give you an evaluation, and we hope to see you soon if you're having any pain. Thank you.